Good afternoon, Year 9, and welcome to this tutorial on English language, Paper 1, Question 1 and 2. So let's get started. So you've got the extract from The Great Gatsby that I hope you have read through, and we're going to just have a little focus on each of these questions. Now you've got these slides on Show My Homework, so they're there to support you. So we know that question 1 is asking you to list 4 things. Now it's worth 4 marks, and we can see that it specifically asks at this point that we have to look at the particular lines. So we need to look at lines 1 to 8. Okay, so I've put it on here for ease in itself. And we know that what we're looking for is what goes on at the neighbour's house. Now it's only asking for us to list 4 things. So we know that we're looking to write 4 simple sentences. Okay, so for example, there was music from my neighbour's house through the summer nights. In its blue gardens, men and girls came and went like moths among the whisperings and the champagne and the stars. So already I have 2 things there that I can pick out. I've chosen to go with this one. I've made my simple sentence. Throughout the summer nights, music is played. Right? It answers the question. You don't need to do any more than that. Capital letter, full stop. 3 more of those and you're finished with question 1. The reality is you look to read the extract for about 15 minutes with your annotations, and you're then looking to answer this question in about 5 minutes. Okay, so let's move on to question 2. Now question 2 takes a little bit longer and is worth double the marks. So we've got 8 marks here, and we're looking to answer our question in the real exam in about 10 minutes. Again, we have this particular lines, and I really want us to remind ourselves that we are looking at particular focus on a specific area of the text, okay? Because you won't receive marks if you look at quotes outside of those. So we're looking at how does the writer use language here to describe the extravagance of the parties. Okay, so I need to be able to understand what the word extravagance means. So if I look at the extract that I've been asked, so I'm looking at the 1 to 18. So I'm just going to quickly read through it. There was music from my neighbour's house throughout the summer nights. In his blue gardens, men and girls came and went like moths among the whisperings and the champagne and the stars. At high tide in the afternoon, I watched his guest diving from the tower of his raft or taking the sun on the hot sand of his beach while his 2 motorboats slipped through the waters of the Sound, drawing aquaplanes over cataracts of foam. Now, if I wasn't sure what the word extravagant meant, I might start to think about the interpretation I get from the text. So already I've got blue gardens, I've got the idea of champagne and stars and motorboats and his own beach. So for me, that would suggest then that extravagance means something, these parties aren't your usual sort of, cheesy puffs and, a bottle of fizz. So I'd suggest that I would start to think about the idea of it being luxurious, of it being indulgent, of it being over the top, which is exactly what extravagance means. So when we come to looking at question 2, we need to make sure that we focus on this idea of the extravagance of the parties, but we are looking at language. We must think about those words and phrases that are used, those techniques. So let's do a couple together and see how we get on. So we've got the music, we've got this idea of the blue gardens, and then I get this really nice sort of little simile here, like moths. Okay, so if we think about moths, they're sort of drawn to light, to flames. They don't have a choice of it. So there's a suggestion that these parties are so extravagant, they have sort of this reputation of it. I can continue to support that with this idea of champagne. Champagne isn't something that you drink every day. Again, it's an expensive drink, something only the rich and the famous have. And even this idea of the stars, that sort of idea of dreaming of something that's not quite the normal. And then we get this listing, don't we? Diving from the tower of his raft, taking the beach. We've got his motorboats. We've got the sort of talking about the aquaplanes of its cataracts of foam. We've got the Rolls Royce that he's driving. This use of nouns here to sort of define what these parties are like. There are objects that are being used to sort of develop and build that sort of extravagance of the parties and what people are able to do. So we've got the Rolls Royce becoming an omnibus bearing parties to and from the city between 9 in the morning and long past midnight. So I'm going to start thinking about that use of time here as well, because time is quite important. From 9 o'clock in the morning until long past midnight, these parties aren't just lasting for a couple of hours. They are serving an entire, community. They're coming in from the city. This isn't just local people. We've got that use of time to reinforce that sense of them being long lasting and over the top. While a station will scamper like a brisk in a bug to meet all trains. So they're not just coming by car, they're also coming by trains. This idea that everyone is flocking to his home. And on Mondays, 8 servants, including an extra gardener, toiled all day with mops and scrubbing brushes and hammers and garden shears, repairing the ravages of the night before. All right, so I might want to think about that use of the word repairing the ravages, that kind of emotive language there. This at the weekends, this place is a place of pleasure and fun and excitement and raucousness, and then come that Monday, everyone's cleaning up again. Every Friday, 5 crates of oranges and lemons arrive from a fruiteria in New York. Every Monday, these same orange and lemons left at the back door in a pyramid of pulpless hearts. So we've got this idea of sort of exotic fruits as well being used, of being used in that sort of sense. It's coming from a fruiteria in New York, so that idea of the city. It's not just a local farmer, so that's the idea of expense that comes within it. So I'd want to start thinking about that use of that sort of proper noun of New York and that use of the nouns of oranges and lemons, that sort of exoticness of what he's doing. There was a machine in the kitchen which could extract the juice of 200 oranges in half an hour if a little button was pressed 200 times by a butler's thumb. Okay, so already we've got that suggestion then that, this is, again, that the use of numerical numbering, the idea that he's got a butler. This isn't just your normal man, this is someone who is rich. Now I'm going to leave that last paragraph to you guys because I don't want to give it all away. Now, if I was doing this on paper, I'd start to make some of my annotations on here. So simple things like adding that this is a simile, and starting to consider the effect that it has, that idea of them being drawn to it, all right? Which then helps us to come on to when we start writing our answer. Now, what we've done for you is we've given you this slide that you can see on Show My Homework. So you've got tips of success down the side there. You need to start with that overarching sentence. So what is the writer really hinting about these parties? So you can start with like, overall, the sort of opulence, the expense of these parties sort of draw people to them. You'd be using short evidence. You need to be thinking about that language terminology. Is it a simile? Is it a metaphor? Which is what comes into this purple box here. You've got lots of different techniques. They're not the only ones that you could use. There's lots of others that you could consider as well. And then you have got those sentence links to analysers in that sense as you start writing, and some vocabulary to help you with this question in particular. Okay? Really what you need to be doing for 8 marks is you need to be really analysing about 4 quotations. You need to be doing it in a chain. So you're looking really to do sort of idea and a technique, the evidence, using Chris Rice to show that you've inferred the meaning behind it. What's really being explained here? So here's an example for you. Firstly, so I'm just using that sort of very simple connective to get my answer started. The writer uses a simile. Okay, I've got my short quote, like moths, to suggest, so my Chris Rice there, the enticing nature of the parties. So I'm using that vocabulary. I'm thinking about the fact that people want to come here. I'm going to take that a bit further. I don't think it's enough. Furthermore, it reveals, I'm going back to my Chris Rice, the opulent and indulgent reputation of his neighbours' gatherings, that people feel drawn into them, powerless to stop their wonder at such extravagance. Okay, and there's one of my chains. I'd need 3 more of those and an overall idea to get my 8 marks. So thank you for listening there this morning, Year 9. Good luck, and I look forward to reading your answers on GCSE Pod.